Jake Morrison helped a soaked woman crying at the ATM on a rainy midnight. She seemed lost and desperate, so he bought her coffee and offered his couch. He had no idea she was Elena Caldwell, the billionaire who had abandoned him and their 7-year-old son years ago. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The rain was falling hard when Jake Morrison pulled up to the ATM at midnight. His old Honda coughed and wheezed as he turned off the engine. He had exactly $43 in his account, and he needed to withdraw $20 for his son's lunch money for the rest of the week. Being a single father was harder than he'd ever imagined. As Jake approached the ATM, he noticed a woman standing there, completely soaked from the rain. She was hunched over the machine, and he could hear her crying softly. Her expensive-looking clothes were drenched, her hair was plastered to her face, and she seemed lost. "Excuse me," Jake said gently, "are you okay?" The woman looked up, startled. She had the most beautiful green eyes Jake had ever seen, but they were filled with pain and desperation. She appeared to be in her early 30s, about his age. I'm fine," she said, wiping her eyes. "I'm sorry, I'll move so you can use the machine." "No, please take your time. But you're soaking wet. Do you need help?" The woman stared at him as if kindness was a foreign concept. "The ATM ate my card," she said quietly. "And my phone is dead. I don't have anywhere to go." Jake looked at her more closely. Despite her expensive clothes, she looked exhausted and defeated. Something about her made his protective instincts kick in. "Listen, I know this might sound strange, but there's a 24-hour diner across the street. Why don't you get out of this rain, have some coffee, and figure out what to do next?" "I don't have any money," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "I've got a few dollars. Coffee's on me." The woman studied his face, looking for some hidden motive. "Why would you help a stranger?" Jake shrugged. "Because everyone needs help sometimes. I'm Jake, by the way." She hesitated. "I'm Elena." 20 minutes later, they sat in a corner booth at Murphy's Diner. Elena wrapped her hands around a hot cup of coffee, still shivering slightly. Jake had given her his jacket, which was too big but dry. "So," Jake said carefully, "what happened? If you don't mind me asking." Elena was quiet for a long moment. "I had a fight with someone important to me. I left in anger, and now I'm stuck with no way to get home." "Where's home?" "Far from here." Elena looked around the modest diner. "This is very kind of you, Jake. Most people would have just walked past. Most people haven't been where you are right now." "You've been homeless?" Jake nodded. "Not homeless exactly, but close. When my son was born, his mother left us. I was 25, had no idea how to be a father, and was barely making ends meet. There were nights I sat in places like this, wondering how I was going to make it." "You have a son?" Jake's face lit up. "Tommy. He's 7 now. Best kid in the world, though I might be biased." "What happened to his mother?" Jake's expression grew sad. "She said she wasn't ready to be a mother. Signed away her rights and left when Tommy was 3 months old. Haven't heard from her since." Elena's hand flew to her mouth. "She just left. Some people aren't cut out for parenthood, I guess. But honestly, Tommy and I are better off without someone who didn't want to be there." Elena stared into her coffee cup. "Do you ever wonder about her? Wonder if she thinks about Tommy?" "Sometimes. But I've learned not to dwell on it. Tommy's my priority now. He's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one. He's taught me what really matters in life." They talked for 2 hours. Elena was intelligent, funny, and surprisingly easy to talk to. She asked lots of questions about Tommy and seemed genuinely interested in Jake's life as a single father. "What do you do for work?" Elena asked. "I'm a mechanic at Murphy's auto shop. Not glamorous, but it pays the bills and I can usually get home in time to pick Tommy up from school." "That's important." "Yeah, it is. What about you?" Elena hesitated again. "I work in business. Corporate stuff. It's not very exciting." Jake sensed she was being vague, but he didn't push. Everyone had a right to privacy. When the diner started getting busy with the breakfast crowd, Jake realized it was morning. "I need to get home," he said. "Tommy will be waking up soon and I have to get him ready for school." Elena looked panicked. "Of course. Thank you for everything. I'll figure something out." Jake studied her face. She still looked lost and afraid. "Elena, I know this is going to sound crazy, but do you want to come to my place? Just until you can figure out your next move. I have a couch and you could use the phone to call someone." "I couldn't impose." "You're not imposing. Besides, Tommy loves meeting new people. Fair warning though, our place isn't fancy." Elena looked at this kind man who had already done so much for a stranger. Are you sure? I'm sure. Jake's apartment was small but clean. It was clearly the home of a single father. Toys organized in bins, children's drawings on the refrigerator, school schedules stuck to the wall. Daddy? A small voice called from down the hall. That's Tommy, Jake said with a smile. Tommy, come meet our guest. A 7-year-old boy with dark hair and bright blue eyes padded into the living room in pajamas. He stopped when he saw Elena. Who's that? He asked curiously. This is Elena. She's a friend who needed help. Elena, this is Tommy. Hi, Tommy, Elena said softly. Tommy studied her with the intense curiosity of a child. Why are you wearing Daddy's jacket? Because I got caught in the rain and your daddy was nice enough to help me. Daddy helps lots of people. He fixed Mrs. Johnson's car for free when she didn't have money. Jake blushed. Tommy, why don't you get ready for school while Elena uses the phone? As Tommy ran off to get dressed, Elena looked around the apartment more carefully. Despite its modest size, it felt like a real home. There was love here, warmth, stability. He looks just like you, Elena said. People say that. Though he's much better looking. Elena smiled, but Jake noticed tears in her eyes. Elena, are you okay? Can I ask you something, Jake? Sure. If Tommy's mother came back someday, what would you do? Jake was quiet for a moment. I don't know. I guess it would depend on why she came back and what she wanted. What if she wanted to be part of his life? Then we'd have to figure it out. Tommy deserves to know his mother if she genuinely wants to be there for him. Even after she abandoned you both? Jake looked toward Tommy's room, where they could hear him getting ready. I'd be angry, hurt, confused. But Tommy's needs come first. Always. Elena nodded, wiping her eyes. Tommy came back into the room dressed for school. Daddy, I can't find my math homework. It's in your backpack, buddy. Did you brush your teeth? Yes, sir. As Jake helped Tommy get ready for school, Elena watched the easy interaction between father and son. Jake was patient, loving, and completely focused on Tommy's needs. Elena, Tommy said as Jake packed his lunch, are you going to stay with us? Just for today, sweetheart. Good. Daddy gets lonely sometimes even though he tries to hide it. Tommy, Jake warned gently. It's true. You talk to Mom's picture when you think I'm sleeping. Elena's head snapped up. You have a picture of his mother? Jake looked embarrassed. Just one. I kept it in case Tommy ever wanted to see what she looked like. Can I see it? Jake hesitated, then went to his bedroom and returned with a small framed photo. Elena took it with shaking hands. The photo showed a young woman with blonde hair and green eyes, holding a newborn baby. She was beautiful, but she looked very young and scared. Elena stared at the photo for a long time. That's my mommy, Tommy said matter-of-factly. Daddy says she was very young and got scared about being a mommy. What else does your daddy tell you about her? Elena asked quietly. That she probably thinks about me sometimes, but she had to go away because she wasn't ready to take care of a baby. And that maybe someday when I'm older, I might get to meet her. Elena's hands were shaking now. Jake noticed and gently took the photo back. Elena, what's wrong? Before she could answer, there was a knock at the door. Jake opened it to find a man in an expensive suit. Miss Caldwell, the man said, looking past Jake to Elena. I've been looking everywhere for you. Your security team is very worried. Elena closed her eyes. Hello, Marcus. Jake looked between them, confused. Caldwell? I thought your name was Elena? It is. Elena Caldwell. The name hit Jake like a physical blow. Elena Caldwell was one of the richest women in the country. CEO of Caldwell Industries, worth billions of dollars. You're Elena Caldwell, Jake said slowly. The billionaire. Elena nodded miserably. Daddy, what's a billionaire? Tommy asked. Someone with more money than we can imagine, Jake said faintly. Marcus stepped forward. Miss Caldwell, we really need to go. You have a board meeting in 2 hours. Wait, Jake said, his mind racing. Elena, how old are you? 32. When's your birthday? May 15th. Jake's face went white. Tommy's mother had been named Elena. She'd been 25 when Tommy was born, which would make her 32 now. Her birthday was May 15th. Oh my God, Jake whispered. Elena was crying now. Jake, you're Tommy's mother. Tommy looked between them, confused. What? Elena knelt down to Tommy's level, tears streaming down her face. Tommy, I'm your mommy. The room went silent except for the sound of Elena's crying. My mommy? Tommy said in a small voice. Yes, sweetheart. I'm the mommy who went away when you were a baby. Tommy stared at her, processing this information. Then he looked at Jake. Daddy? Jake was struggling to breathe. It's true, buddy. This is your mother. But why did she come back now? Tommy asked with the direct honesty of a child. Elena looked at Jake, then back at Tommy. Because I made a terrible mistake 7 years ago. I was young and scared, and I thought you'd be better off without me. But I've thought about you every single day since then. Then why didn't you come back before? Because I was afraid. Afraid your daddy wouldn't forgive me. Afraid you wouldn't want to know me. Miss Caldwell, Marcus interrupted, we really must go. No, Elena said firmly. Cancel my meetings. Cancel everything. She turned back to Tommy. Tommy, I know this is confusing. And I know I have no right to ask for anything from you or your daddy. But I want you to know that leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. Tommy walked closer to her. Are you rich like Daddy said? Yes. Richer than the president? Elena managed a small smile. Probably. Then why were you crying at the money machine? Because all my money can't buy the thing I want most. What's that? A chance to be your mommy. Tommy considered this seriously. Then he looked at Jake. Daddy, what do you think? Jake was still reeling from the revelation. The woman he'd helped, the woman he'd been attracted to, was the same person who had abandoned him and Tommy 7 years ago. I think, Jake said carefully, that this is very complicated. And we need to talk about it. Marcus had left after Elena insisted she wasn't going anywhere. Tommy was at school. Jake had decided to maintain his routine while they figured things out. Elena and Jake sat at his small kitchen table, the weight of 7 years between them. Why now? Jake asked. Why did you come back now? Elena took a deep breath. I never really left. I've been following Tommy's life from a distance. I know he plays Little League. I know he's good at math. I know he broke his arm last year falling off his bike. Jake stared at her. You've been watching us? Not stalking. Just staying informed. I hired a private investigator to send me reports. Photos sometimes. That's why you asked so many questions about him at the diner. You already knew the answers. Some of them. But I wanted to hear it from you. I wanted to see what kind of father you'd become. And? You're an amazing father, Jake. Everything I hoped you'd be and more. Jake was quiet for a moment. Why didn't you just come forward? Why the charade at the ATM? Elena looked down. I was on my way to see you. I'd finally worked up the courage. But when I got to your neighborhood, I panicked. I've been sitting in my car for hours trying to decide what to do. So you were really stranded? My driver was waiting around the corner. But yes, I was really lost. Emotionally lost. They sat in silence for a while. Elena, Jake said finally, do you have any idea what you put me through? What you put Tommy through? I know I can never make up for. He used to cry for his mommy. He was 2 years old, asking why his mommy didn't love him enough to stay. Elena's face crumpled. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't erase 7 years, Elena. 7 years of me explaining to him why his mother didn't want him. 7 years of him wondering what he did wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. It was all me. Then why? Why did you really leave? Elena was quiet for a long time. Because I was a coward. I was 25, I just inherited my father's company, and I had no idea how to run a billion-dollar business or raise a child. When I looked at Tommy, all I could see was my own inadequacy. So you ran. I ran. And I've regretted it every day since. Have you ever been married? Had other children? No. I threw myself into work. I've been successful professionally, but personally, I've been dead inside for 7 years. Jake studied her face. What do you want now, Elena? Really? I want to be Tommy's mother. I want to be part of his life. She paused. I want us to be a family. Us. You, me, and Tommy. I know it's a lot to ask. I know you probably hate me. Jake was quiet for a long moment. I don't hate you, Elena. I'm angry, confused, hurt. But I don't hate you. Thank you. But this isn't just about what you want. Tommy's needs come first. Always. I understand. Do you? Because if you come into his life and then leave again, it will destroy him. And I won't let that happen. I'm not going anywhere, Jake. Not ever again. How can I trust that? How can I trust someone who walked away once? Elena reached into her purse and pulled out a small, worn photo. It was a picture of Tommy as a baby. I've carried this with me every day for 7 years, she said. Every day I've looked at this picture and wondered if I made the right choice. The answer was always no. Jake looked at the photo, then at Elena. Tommy's going to have questions. Lots of them. I know. And he might be angry. He might not want anything to do with you. I know that too. And this doesn't mean we're automatically a family. We barely know each other now. I understand. Jake sighed. But he deserves to know his mother. And despite everything, I can see that you love him. Elena started crying again. I love him so much, Jake. And I think I could love you too if you'd let me. Elena. I know it's too much too fast. But sitting in that diner with you, seeing the man you've become, the father you are. I remembered why I fell for you 7 years ago. Jake felt his resolve wavering. The woman sitting across from him wasn't the scared girl who had run away. She was someone who had built an empire, who had the strength to come back and face the consequences of her choices. We'd have to take this slow, he said. Tommy first, always. Always, Elena agreed. And you'd have to prove that you're serious. That this isn't just guilt or some midlife crisis. I'll prove it every day for the rest of my life if I have to. Jake looked at this woman, billionaire, CEO, mother of his child, and made a decision that would change all their lives. Okay, he said. Let's see what happens. The adjustment period was harder than any of them had expected. Tommy was confused, excited, and sometimes angry. Elena had to learn how to be a mother to a 7-year-old instead of a baby. Jake had to figure out how to co-parent with someone he was falling in love with all over again. But they made it work. Elena bought a house in Jake's neighborhood, big enough for all of them but modest enough to fit in with the community. She scaled back her business commitments and learned to prioritize family time. Tommy slowly warmed up to having a mother. Elena was patient, letting him set the pace, proving day after day that she wasn't going anywhere. And Jake found himself remembering why he'd fallen for Elena in the first place. She was brilliant, funny, kind, and completely devoted to making up for lost time. Daddy, Tommy said one evening as Jake tucked him in, are you going to marry Mommy Elena? Would you like that? I think so. She makes really good pancakes and she helped me with my science project. Those are important qualifications, Jake said with a smile. And she makes you happy. You smile more now. Jake kissed his son's forehead. What do you think about having Elena as your full-time mommy? I'd like that. But Daddy? Yeah, buddy? Promise me you won't let her leave again. Jake's heart ached. I promise, Tommy. She's not going anywhere. The wedding was small and perfect. Tommy served as ring bearer, taking his job very seriously. Elena wore a simple white dress, and Jake couldn't stop smiling as he watched his bride walk down the aisle. Do you, Jake Morrison, take Elena Caldwell to be your wife? I do, Jake said, looking into the green eyes that had captivated him 8 years ago. Do you, Elena Caldwell, take Jake Morrison to be your husband? I do, Elena said, her voice strong and sure. And Tommy, the minister said, do you accept Elena as your mother? I already do, Tommy announced. She's been my mommy for a whole year now. Everyone laughed. After the ceremony, as they celebrated in their backyard, Elena found Jake watching Tommy play with his cousins. Any regrets? She asked. Jake thought about the journey that had brought them here, from that rainy night at the ATM to this moment. Only one, he said. Elena looked worried. What? I regret that it took 8 years for us to become a real family. Elena smiled and kissed her husband. We have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time. Promise. Promise. I'm never leaving you two again. That night, as they tucked Tommy into bed in their new house, their family home, Tommy looked up at his parents. Mommy Elena? Yes, sweetheart. I'm glad you got lost at the money machine. Elena laughed. Me too, baby. Me too. As Jake and Elena turned off the lights and closed the door, they both thought about the rainy night that had changed everything. Jake had thought he was helping a stranded stranger. Elena had thought she was finally ready to face her past. Neither of them had known they were about to rediscover their future. Sometimes the best things in life happen when you least expect them. Sometimes a chance encounter is really a second chance. And sometimes, love finds a way to bring a family back together, even after years apart.